represented children with disabilities and the courage and the representation that they should have and how they should be portrayed as capable people. The Amazon MGM film that I'm going to do also has a 12-year-old, intellectually sharp but physically challenged character who is very much capable. I'd like to give a big shout out to Mr. Nic Novici, who is the founder of the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. The work that he's been doing was able to get me to the point where I was cast in this amazing film. It's a big step forward in terms of representation, and I'm beyond excited.
The bounty I seek is worth more than any gold.
Mama's okay.
No one leaves this island until I collect my property. Why did you betray me? You think I would just let you slip away?
Mama!
We have subdued the woman.
Have you now?
You come to my house, threaten my family!
Bloody, bloody Mary! I'm told you have a beautiful new family. They know who you really are.
I'm still your mother, and I will do anything in my power to protect you. Look away.
How are you so good at killing people?
Your father didn't marry me for my cooking.
It's you those men are looking for.
Let them look.
Dead or alive, gentlemen.
They're gonna find us, and they're gonna kill us.
Did you miss me, darling?
This only ends with the sand soaked in his blood or mine.
Applause for the Bluff, right? I know you're getting excited for the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, and it's in a couple weeks that the actual challenge is going to be happening, where over the course of 5 days, filmmakers are going to be making films from around the world. Well, the goal and the mission of the challenge is to create opportunities for people with disabilities in front of and behind the camera, and ultimately to change the way the world sees disability. And I can't think of a better example than this movie, The Bluff, which stars Vedanten Naidoo, one of the leading roles in the movie, and he's a Film Challenge alumni. So we have him here with us, and special guest, the writer and director of the movie, Frankie Flowers, and the other writer, Joe Ballerini. How awesome is this? This is really exciting. The movie is #1, you know. Yes. Around the world, people are seeing authentic disability representation, and it's kind of crazy. We were just on the carpet. That video that we showed, that was right before you filmed.
Yep.
So, pretty neat full circle moment for the movie to be released globally, being such a hit, and you, Mr. Movie Star, coming back in amongst us challenge participants. I want to get the opportunity to have everybody sort of talk a little bit about your path to where you are, and then we're going to talk more about the movie. But also at the end, we want to make this an open discussion. Today is really a day about learning and pitching ideas about how to pitch yourself, but also how to craft story and produce. Obviously, a little bit different size budget, the challenge budget, than this budget. But I think there's similarities, in every story and how we come up with authentic storytelling that resonates with audiences. So my first question is for you. Many people are now around the world seeing you and seeing this authentic representation of a boy with cerebral palsy from this project. But you've been acting since you were a kid, right? You've been in this guy's got a resume like he's he's in his 50s and he's a young man here. So tell us a little bit about, before you got this, other roles that you had.
Yeah. So it's been 9 years leading up to Isaac on the Bluff. And I was only brought into it by my mom because it was there.
Can I give a shout out to your mom, Nadine, here, who has also directed and produced films for the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge.
It started in 2018. I was 6 years old. It was a UCLA short film. Then 2020, I was 8 years old, and we did Stan Lee's Superhero Kindergarten on Cartoon Channel with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Man.
Then
I think when I was 8, I was like, trying to get into a Little League game.
Then from 2020 to 2024, we did Kirit, non-disabled South Asian kid on Disney Junior's Morphle and the Magic Pets. Then Apple TV's Goldie, I played Petey, an American boy in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And then the symbolism is that I had just come out of surgery, and we shot our film for the EDFC in 2024. So I jumped off the set for the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge into the Amazon AGBO set in Australia.
Wow, that is incredible. Pretty neat, So I'm glad, we're a little bit a part of that journey, and it's just so exciting to see you and watching the movie. So I highly encourage everybody, if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. It's an amazing film. And on that note, too, I want to hear about you guys. Your journey into this project, but about you guys as your writing career, your directing journey. We have a lot of aspiring artists here that really are wearing a bunch of different hats too. And Frankie, I love too that you're, it seems like you've done a bunch of different things too. And this movie you wrote and directed. Can you talk about the journey to make this movie? And I also would love to hear about was the having an authentically disabled character always a part of that script process?
Rock and roll. All right, well, again, thank you guys for having us. I'm going to try and tackle it bit by bit, Joe and I met at USC. Sorry, not AFI, but we love AFI, so please don't judge us for it. But we met in college, and I've always had kindred spirits in terms of storytelling. And Joe, you always talk about our writing process in terms of we would work together, because for those of you who are writers, writing is a very lonesome, terrible process. The blank screen staring at you every day, the death cursor blinking. I feel like we just tried to make it a little less horrible, right?
Yeah, we weren't writing our own things together. We would just say, hey, are you writing today? And so we would sit there like we were playing Battleship, like You Sunk My Battleship. And so we would just write opposite each other and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? Is that good? Oh yeah, that's okay. Or maybe a bit of dialogue here or there. So we just had a nice camaraderie of just hanging out, because we were kind of the only ones doing it.
Right, and after school, you guys have this group here. What's so nice about college is you have a group of friends. Or by the way, even if some of them are snooty film students, that's fine. But it's safe. You get to bounce ideas and go back and forth and inspire each other, and you lose that, right? When you go out in the world, a lot of times, if you don't have a program like this where you can hang out with like-minded storytellers, you're again in that death space looking at that thing all by yourself. And so we were trying to recreate on a smaller scale just a room that we would enjoy writing, right? And
safe space. Safe space to make all your mistakes.
And so from there, different things, opportunities came up. We worked on small projects together. We worked on like a little Netflix show called The Ropes, which we shot for no money with a DSLR camera in downtown LA. Which Joe ran the writer's room with me, and he directed an episode. And so we were it was one of those things where you had to do everything, right? And we had a small crew, but it was really kind of a special show because we, it
was our first time really working together, and we're like, oh, okay, this works. I think we can, and we still remain friends too, which is remarkable.
It can be hard. You go through, and so we developed this thing we call the Bad Idea of the Month Club. And essentially what you do is, you call someone, or Joe would call me, I call Joe, not someone, and say, I have this really bad idea. And it's...
Guy figures out he can talk to his dog, and they solve crimes together. It's not a good idea.
Bad idea, right?
I mean, you can use it. I don't know. Maybe if that's anyone's idea.
So it goes back and forth. And so one day he was like, what about a home invasion movie with pirates? And really that was how The Bluff was born. It was started as this and it's like, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Because when you say bad idea, you're taking away the pressure of it trying to be a good idea. Right. So secretly you want your bad idea to be a great idea, but you just got to be like, I don't know that it's going to work.
Yeah.
And
Pirate Home Invasion apparently worked.
It worked, and that was the genesis of the movie. And I'm from Cayman Islands where the story takes place, and Joe knew I had this affinity for pirates. We used to cosplay and dress up. Like instead of Halloween, we had Pirates Week. And so, that's right, it was all that. We grew up with all that. For like 50 years they've done it. So before I was born, it's been a thing. And it was actually designed to be, it was always, and we're gonna get to this superstar in a second, but it actually, the heart of the movie, which remained in it for those of you who've seen it, and even in the trailer, was this woman and her son at a house, and bad things are coming to them, and she has to protect her family. And that was the heart of the movie. And it was never meant to be a swashbuckling, high seas, adventure. We were looking at pirate films going, what could we add to the story? And you said authenticity, but authenticity was the biggest part of our commitment to whatever the story was going to be. We were like, let's make it real. We watched films like The Witch. Have you guys ever seen this? The Robert Edgar...
Translation, The Witch.
The Witch. Robert Eggers?
Yeah, Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers, right? It's like...
Or Straw Dogs, really, or The Purge.
The Purge. But again, these movies, but I was thinking, even for the authenticity of you look at The Witch and you're you're transported back in time, right?
Yeah.
So that was part of our DNA, and it kind of built from there. And
the character of Isaac was inspired by, there was a mythical, somewhat real, legendary pirate named Jacote de la Haye, who was rumored to have vanished from the high seas from her time as a pirate queen in the Caribbean. And the legend was that she had a disabled son. And so that was really the kernel of it, doing all the research for all right, let's be as authentic as possible. How would people actually speak back then? How would they actually live back then? And we said, wow, that would be incredible, because it's, now you don't just have a child, now you have a child who can't just run through the jungle and all of a sudden get in a boat and go. All right, what does that look like, and how can we be as authentic as possible?
And the attitude back then, right? So she was meant to be like a person who's had to do everything on her own. And so she was in a society that didn't appreciate her, right? Because she was, a fishwife working out in the bush, right? It wasn't. She was always meant to be that girl, that lady that nobody, that old, no one messes with her. And so we were even just thinking of when we talk about sunset, the idea of a ramp, right? She would have built, ramps on ships, right? So she could repurpose things for her son, and we were just talking about how the ingenuity of the character could come across along with her care for her son. And it was one of those things that, and you guys will go through this even on the shorts that you're doing, you write great ideas, and then you get to the point and you're like, wait, I have to film that? And there's always that moment where you go well, it was an auditorium with 15 people, but I only have 3 friends. So now it's classroom or a bathroom in the stalls, and that's creativity, right? That's filmmaking. It's accepting sort of, there's a great quote by Hitchcock. He says, "The absence of limitation is the enemy of art," and I tattoo that on my heart. I have God is good, and the absence of limitation is the enemy of art. But it is filmmaking, and you said the budgets are different, but truly, any movie at any size is one shot, one setup, one moment at a time, right? No matter how big, no matter how small. And so, again, we were excited about embracing this, and we get to the point where the movie is about to get made, and we were just waiting on the call for someone to go like, "So, about this Isaac character, you want 12 years old, mixed race, has to carry the emotion of the film, really, right? Has an art, has Priyanka Chopra's son, and also has Palsy." And literally, I was like, "There's no way, there's no way that person exists." By the way, and child actors are hard. You gotta, we don't want to just find someone and then teach them how to act. It's a skill. Like he said, Vedanten's done it for many, many years. So for that weight of the cast, you got to find someone who has talent. Yeah. And so we were sitting down going like, when's it gonna happen? When are they gonna call and be like, "So which one of these things do you want to lose?" Yeah. And we prayed on it. We stayed the course. We had an incredible casting director, Sarah Finn, who said, "No, we're gonna find it. He's out there. There's that child out there who's just going to be perfect. And I'm telling you, we just have to not be lazy. We just have to go and find it." She goes, "If that's you guys' vision, if that's what you want, I'm going to find it for you." And when she called, I literally get chills thinking about I don't think I've told this story at public. Like when she called, I had to measure I was like, "There's no way. There's no." She goes, "Just click on the 3rd link. Just trust me." And I saw you. And I go, "Oh my gosh,
this is our guy.
This is our guy. You were created from our brains 4 years before. How is this possible?" It was like custom made. And he's not an incredible actor, but so much fun to be around.
Kept everyone's spirits up and high, and was always brought such a playful air to the set, and also a professionalism, because you can't exactly swear around him.
Can't swear around him. We lost a lot of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of swear jar money. But also there was a moment where Frankie could have, as the director, he could have compromised. I think there was discussion at one point. Someone was like, "Oh, what if we just kind of green screen the kid's legs?"
Or break his leg. Or he had a fall. We're like, they're like, "Oh, what if he fell and broke his leg instead of
compromises?"
Palsy, right?
And you're like, that feels false. It doesn't feel authentic to it.
And that's amazing too. So I feel like that's a giant win. Also, for those of you that don't know, the production company that you're referencing to, AGBO, the Russo brothers, who did the Avengers, and their sister also.
The Russo Siblings,
Joe
and Anthony.
And so I feel like inclusivity is really baked into things that they're doing. And I know they've also been very supportive of Slam Dance Film Festival, where we've had some Film Challenge films that have premiered there and been a part of, and we were actually just there last week. So
that's awesome.
With them. So can you talk to me, something that came up that I think was so cool was, how accessibility was really put into the story. Not just on the set, but you were like, "Hey, this is a mother who is a smart, kind of pirate, so she's going to know how to build a ramp, because that's what she would do in real life." Yeah. But can you talk, Vedanten, about your experience? I know you reference and you give credit to Frankie and AGBO about how they really did meet all your accommodations. Can you talk about actually working on the project and your experience?
Well, firstly, let's take a look at our main character, Ercell. So she's a pirate, but she's also a mom. And that's 2 sides of a coin. What I think is that Isaac being disabled actually accentuates the contrast between these 2 sides. Because like you said, if he's running through a jungle, she doesn't have to do too much. But as you saw in the trailer, she was carrying me into that trapdoor. She asked my mom, So how would you carry your son? And then she proceeded to lift me up with one hand, open a trapdoor with the other, and send me down it. But
Good.
that's what I think helped that dynamic a lot. But there's other things, like there's a small portion of the trailer where you may see a rope. Sometimes I was holding those ropes as the character just to stabilize, for balance, or my braces. That would be probably one of the biggest things. When we had the initial meeting with all the executives, they were firing questions, and my mom, who was terrified, she didn't know what to say because, well, what do you do when it's your first surgery? Nobody knows how to answer that. And so the main answer was kind of just, I don't know. And our wonderful director, he took notes and he said, we're gonna make it happen. And one of the things we did to make it happen is when I got my braces, same like these, he sent our costume designer, Miss Antoinette Messam, back out here to refit the 1800s period orthotic over my actual one. So whenever you see that in the movie, I'm actually wearing two sets, one underneath and one on top.
And there were some that were painful as well. Like I remember we had a couple. So it was Antoinette and Phil Ivey, the production designer. Again, we studied the period because we wanted everything to be authentic in the movie, not just your portrayal, but the pirates, the weapons, the architecture, everything was, authenticity was our code. And there were some, because the devices were so crude back then, right? That some of them were like, okay, how do we use what would be appropriate? But again, I mean, there was not a thoughtfulness in the same way, or there were limited resources. So we were trying to blend that. Remember, there was one that and by the way, this guy, he'll shoot for 3 days, and then I'm like, I see you wincing. He goes, oh, it just hurts when I walk. I go, dude, what? There's a whole department of people here who literally are here to make you comfortable so you can act. And he's like, no, I'm kind of using it for my character. I was like, Vedanten, enough. So we, but remember we had to keep adjusting. We adjusted it to get it right, but it was that blend of let's use what would have been thing, but also make sure that you have what you needed to dial in a very complex performance, right? And as you said, that meeting, I got to say, so. There were the Russo siblings. There was also Zoe Saldana and her sisters who have a company called Cinestar. They were producing it with us as well, and they helped infuse a lot of the heart of the motherhood and that part of the character. But the open dialogue of your mother, who's incredibly well versed in all of these things, and we were learning. I never directed a movie of this size. Joe was on set with us every day, so we were all rose to the challenge. We had a great team, but communication was such a key. So that first meeting of sitting, and again, Amazon, such an incredible studio.
And I want to give a shout out to Jerome Core. Also, I know he worked with you guys.
Yes.
They're an incredible company, and so supportive.
It was great. They were really, because they know that it made for a better film. And for us, that was the biggest thing, right? It was we believe that it made the film more interesting, that it kind of made you go oh, I've never seen this before. And that was our thing. There's been a lot of really cool pirate movies made. So we weren't trying to make that. We're trying to be how can we be different, right? And how can we be unique and interesting and authentic? And that was so cool. And he gets to stab a pirate, which is
Hey, we all want to stab a pirate.
No, that's what I drop around my friends. I just walk up and I'm like, okay, so you saw the movie? Well, I stabbed somebody. Yeah, just so you know.
But in preparation for that, Vedanten was amazing because his dedication to it was so fearless. There was a whole sequence where he wasn't just stabbing a pirate, but he was sailing a ship. And then a pirate came and then dragged the ship over, and he goes down into the water without. This is just the writing phase, and then the reality phase really hit. But Vedanten went to swim practice and was getting rolled underwater just to prepare for this. So this kid, it's yes, everyone surrounded him with a lot of love, but really it was this kid's determination, his fire, that really inspired everyone to work as hard as possible, because this kid's doing like death rolls in a pool for like 4 hours at a time. Like he'd show up to set and be like, yep, I just came from training. And then we had to cut that sequence, which was very sad, but we made sure that we still had that win of stabbing a pirate.
And you inspired that line, by the way. The line, remember, that you wrote was when she goes, so we asked them that in the beginning, we go like, and again, we had an open dialogue, right? And that was, I think, really important. And Nadine was so good at that. And so we literally could call and be like, hey, so we're thinking about this. Can he do that? Is he cool to do that? Like there wasn't no tiptoeing around. We're like, we just be straight, right? Because we need it to work and we want to know how to do it, right? We're like, if you can make dinosaurs talk and make things fly, we can figure this out. We just need to be straight about how we're doing it. Yeah. But she goes, are you kidding? She goes, he can do things in water that he can't do on land. And I was like, and that spark was like, oh, it's like a superpower. And then Joe wrote the line in the movie where she goes, and where his character's like, I don't know if I can do this. And she goes, you could swim before you could stand. Yeah. And such one of the most beautiful lines to me in the movie, because it was just like that moment of like, wait a second, like don't think about what you can't do, like remember that, right? And as Caribbean people, the water is such a part of our heritage. For his father's character who was off at sea, there's this, there's this cultural and emotional link to the water. And so I feel like you inspired those. But in the middle of shooting, Joe, you wrote that line, and we tried 5 versions of that monologue, and we're trying to make it work. And then it was like, oh, that's just so succinct, it's so beautiful, and the whole audience got it. They're like, okay. Yeah. And that's when you're like, all right, let's go, mama. You do your thing, I'll do mine. Don't worry about me. You become a man in that moment, right? That's you becoming independent.
I feel like he should be the next Crocodile Dundee.
With this hat.
He knows how to do rolls, and he's going after crocodiles. Mm-hmm. So we are running to the time where we are going to have to break to eat lunch and sort of get to the next phase. I want to give some closing words of wisdom from everybody on the way out before. One thing I do want to say too about this too is I do love a theme that you guys have brought up a lot about the power that he had as a disabled character that was just like one of the pirates, and waving a knife, and going and being a pirate, and just being out in the world, and the way that it was a major role in a major movie, and that was a huge win. And I think something else that was pointed out too is about how you were just like, we're gonna figure out how to do this. And I always say too, because people always ask questions about accommodations and accessibility, and I often say that most of the times disability accommodations don't require more money, they require more planning. And it sounds like you guys really went that extra step to really rewrite things and figure out how to showcase this in such a cool way. So before we close and wrap out, and we are all going to take a little group photo. Those that know me know I'm always trying to get that group photo, so don't run away. I want, for anybody that's, this is our kind of lightning round, 30-second, any advice that you have. If you're an actor and you're new, why should you take part in the film challenge? And then from you guys, any words of wisdom for filmmakers or anybody making your own projects.
In terms of the film challenge specifically, I would say it's a jump pad. It's a great community to start with, people who are just like you. There's no, oh, well, you're in that universe and I'm in this one. It's all together. We make up the multiverse. You spoke about me just going, oh yeah, it hurts when I walk. One of the weird things that happens to me is because my parents, they wake me up basically with the question of, are you a champion today or not? So one of the major things is I'm pretty sure I might have died on set and not felt it, because I will get so locked into the character and the amount of fun I'm having and what's going on that I can come off set and like be just jumping around for an hour, and then I sit down and then I'm like, oh, my leg's burning. Huh, that's interesting. But, once you get focused enough, you kind of forget about everything else. You go into the character, and I think that's what helped. What helped me But also what helped me is you. Big shout out to Mr. Nic, a little man with the biggest heart. And what could be a better time than March, as it is National Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Thank you guys. Lightning round, quick. Listen, I always say, trust God and I trust my crew. So surround yourself with people that you trust and really listen to them. And that can be in any department. Doesn't matter what they do or who they are. It's like, I the same thing I would talk to Vedanten and his mom. I talk to my cinematographer, talk to any of my actors. What do you need to do your job? How can we do this as a team? How can we work together? And I really try and foster that as a director. And especially when you're doing something smaller, you got to be like, everyone has a voice. Just come in, let's work together, let's solve the problems. And again, whoever that is, from your lighting, in front of, behind the camera, wherever you're going, yeah.
My word of advice is you guys are already here, you're already doing it, so that's a huge step that you're already starting it. So just keep going. It's going to get hard. It's not going to be easy. Please, please keep trying. Please keep pushing, because the world needs your stories. The world needs all of your voices. So just remember that and be true to it, and there's an audience for you.
Thank you. How about a round of applause for the creative team, the Bluff?
Honestly, when I arrived, and then they spoke about having someone on a panel, and I was like, wait a minute, I just saw him on this film the other night, and now he's here? I was like, wow, I must talk with him, I must have a picture. Yeah, I felt like everything happened for a reason. That's why everyone's here. That's what the point of today is, for us to have this panel and you to be here and give everyone advice and how to progress in this industry.
I think it was just so awesome that the casting director was like, no, we're gonna find the right person. That is just so inspiring, because they found the perfect actor for this film.
What I loved the most was how Frankie was speaking about working with people with disabilities, as it was an asset. It was not something that he needed to put a lot of extra effort in. He was talking about how it's more about communication. And I think that's not only really intelligent, but as someone living with chronic pain, as an actor, it made me feel hopeful. Because we can bring a lot to these roles from our experience.
The conversation that really made me feel hopeful about inclusivity in film was actually how the writing became part of the process, and the collaboration with Vedanten was necessary in order for the character to be authentic to who he is and what he faces every day.
I just saw the trailer and I was shocked. It looks so good. And we love the Russo brothers, so I know it'll be a good project.
And in terms of writing, I loved what Joe added, just to keep going, just to keep working, even though it's really hard, which is true, and about how they work together and collaborating as artists to come up with the best ideas, even if it starts with a bad one.
And it shows a strong mother that protects her family and has to fight the pirates. And the adventure idea. I'm excited to see all of that. You're wonderful, and you're a good influence on other kids.
I'm ready to pick up my sword too, man. I was so excited watching you as a pirate. I'm so proud and so excited you gave such an incredible performance.
Thank you.
So much amazing disability representation. And today was really a celebration for you, your role. And I got to give a huge shout out too to all the director, Frankie Flowers, Joe Ballerini, that came here and talked to our community about how they could make an inclusive production, how they can tell their story, how they could find a star like you, and get you out there on the screen. So huge shout out to AGBO, to Amazon MGM Studios. You got 2 weeks to register for the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. All right, we'll see you there. And then while you're waiting, watch the Bluff.
Yes, sir.